A friend of mine suggested that I talk about the tractors and stories about tractors. I grew up on a 400-acre livestock and grain farm in south central Illinois near Greenville, and I had a love for tractors from the early days. One of the stories I want to tell you about is, this is a combine, as probably you all know, and this is a John Deere B tractor. And I found that one day I was probably about 5 or 6 years old, and I decided to climb up on the tongue of this tractor, of the combine, right here on this part of the tongue. And I was hanging on to the back of the seat, and I released the brakes. There were a brake on each side, and there was a lever, and somehow I knew that if you push down on that brake pedal and release that lever, that it would release the brake. I don't think I was ready to know what was going to happen if I did that. But I do know what did happen. It started rolling. It was on a raised area, and it started rolling, and I'm hanging on for dear life to the back of the seat, and it rolls down toward the corner of the barn, where my brother Tom was milking the cows inside the barn. Well, he heard the crash on the barn, and he came running out and spanked me, which I'm sure I deserved. I think it scared him to death that I could have been killed. Fortunately, I survived that, but I learned that it's not wise to be standing on a tongue between a tractor, no matter what kind it is, and another implement such as a combine. And this is part of my tractor collection. I enjoy collecting different kinds of tractors like we had through the years. I'll tell you another story. When I was in Michigan, I had a Farmall H. Now this is similar to the one, only mine was faded out and kind of rusty. And it had a loader on the front. And I used that tractor when I wanted to plow snow, because the first year in Michigan I didn't realize that the snow stayed all winter and I was not prepared. The next year I became prepared. I bought an old Farmall H and with a loader, and it had a blade on the front instead of a loader, and that would work quite well to push the snow away. Now I remember being back in the woods with this tractor and working in the timber. I don't remember any bad incidents happening with this. I do remember borrowing a neighbor's tractor to get me out of the snow, and the process of doing that, somehow his transmission locked up. That really had me concerned, so I had to go down and see the neighbor and talk to him and apologize, and he said don't worry about it. He didn't ask me to fix it. I think maybe he'd had a problem with it before, but that was an embarrassing situation. So that was the tractor I owned when I was in southern Michigan, in Adrian. The first recollection of a tractor that Dad owned was a Farmall F12 or F20. I think it was an F12. Here's a model of that particular tractor. I remember it sitting by the barn. I really don't remember it being used for anything because I don't think it was running. I think it was more of a problem than a help. But that was Dad's first tractor that I remember. Before that, we had horses that we worked with. So then the first tractor after that was a John Deere B. The John Deere B had a hand clutch, and you push the hand clutch forward. It didn't have a foot clutch. It had a flywheel on the side, as you can see on this one. And so I used to use that to harrow the fields. I started working with a tractor when I was quite young, somewhere around 8 or 10 years old. And I remember standing up on the John Deere B and going down through the field with a harrow, working it that way. Like I said, I was quite young. It's a good experience, as I remember. I don't remember anything negative about that. Then Dad also had a love for Allis Chalmers, so the first Allis Chalmers we got was a WC. It didn't have iron wheels like this, but it did pretty much look like this, with the fenders with the hand brakes on the side. I don't believe there was a foot brake on it. There was a clutch and then 2 hand brakes. It was a rough rider, I'll tell you. It wasn't very comfortable. And we used that for a while until Dad decided it was time to upgrade, and he bought the first WD-45 that was sold in Greenville from Cease Farm Supply. Now, it looked a lot like this one here. It was a narrow front. It had a seat that was to the side like that. And that's what we used to do a lot of our work on the farm. I remember driving that WD-45 a lot. We used it to plow. It had what they call a snap coupler hitch, which was specific for Allis-Chalmers tractors. And it had arms that raised. This one doesn't show the raised arms, so it's not quite the same, but it gives you an idea of what the WD-45 looked like. I do remember one time trying to cross a ditch with it and getting lodged the front wheels in the ditch and couldn't get it out, and Dad had to help me with that. Then after that, we traded the the John Deere B on a 620 John Deere like this one. Now here's actually my toy one from when I was a child, and I still have it. It's not in real good shape. As you can see, the steering wheel's broken, but it's mine, and I enjoyed keeping it in my collection. This is what the 620 looked like. It was very similar to this with the hand clutch, and this you can see on this one, it shows the hand clutch. It had the brakes like I talked about, where it had the levers that would lock them in place. It had a flywheel on the side, and it had a pulley on the other side, so you could actually use it, if you wanted to, you could use it to run different kinds of equipment like a blower for silage or whatever you might do. There's a story told about my dad's cousin Harry Susenbach, and Harry was showing us one time when they were filling silo that how he could hold on to the belt that went to the blower, and he could hold on to it. You could start the tractor and put it in full throttle, and he would kill the tractor. Harry was very strong, and that's kind of a funny story, but it's true. So that was the John Deere 620. Then we traded the WD-45 on one like this. It's an Allis-Chalmers D17. And the D17 had the high-low clutch, which I like, and it shows it on this one that it has the high-low clutch. And it was a great tractor. In fact, I liked it so much that I have a D17 that I own. It wasn't one Dad owned, but it was like his. And only mine has a wide front. Here you can see the snap coupler connectors on the rear end of the tractor. Then another tractor that after that, Dad traded the John Deere 620 on this 3020 John Deere. Now Dad's was a narrow front, where this one's wide front. But otherwise, it looked pretty much like this with a 3-point hitch. The seat looked much like that. An excellent tractor, and Dad used that. He still had it when he quit farming, and he sold the farm equipment to my brother Tom. Following that, he traded that one on, well actually he kept that one, and he traded the D17 on this 4020 John Deere. Ours was not a diesel, this one's a diesel, but basically it looked a lot like this, and it's a wide front, and I have Dad's 4020 diesel, not diesel, 4020 gas tractor that I bought from my brother-in-law, who bought from my brother, who bought from my dad, and it's been in the family. It's a 1968 model, and it still runs great. We use it for bush hogging, and it's a great tractor. Backing up a little bit, my grandpa had a tractor like this, and this is called a John Deere L or LM, and I don't ever remember him driving it, but I remember seeing it in his barn. And I wish we still had it, but we don't, but I have a replica of it. When I first moved to Vandalia from Michigan, of course tractors have been in my blood for a long time. I decided I wanted a tractor, so I found one like this, which is a Ferguson TO20. The TO20 was very similar to the Ford, the early Ford tractors, the 9 and 8. What the deal was with Harry Ferguson invented the 3-point hitch, and he had a handshake agreement with the Henry Ford, and later Henry Ford rescinded the agreement, went out of it, and so Harry Ferguson was not very happy about that, so he started his own tractors, which was the Ferguson tractor, which actually was a better tractor in my opinion than the Ford, and it had a Continental engine, and mine was a good one. I kept it for a while until I got some other tractors, and I only need so many on the farm. The latest tractor I have bought has been a Kubota. Now, this isn't the right model, but it reminds you of it. I have a Kubota compact tractor, and that's great. It has a loader on the front and a belly mower, and I'm really enjoying it. So tractors are still in my blood. A couple other stories I'll share with you before I quit here. One was the time that Dad and I were moving farm equipment from one field to another, and we always throw the spike-tooth harrow up on a wagon. The only problem is, we got to the location where we were going to farm, and we were throwing it off the wagon. Dad threw, and I didn't. And I went off with it, with the spiked tooth going into my belly, probably about 2 or 3 inches into my belly. So, of course, we had to go to the emergency room, which then was at Dr. Frankel's office, where he explored the area and made sure I didn't have any serious damage. Dad fainted. Dad was scared for my life, I think. It didn't hit any major organs, and I survived that one okay. Well, I'm sure I could tell you a few other stories about tractors, but tractors have been in my blood for a long time, and I still have 3, which is kind of crazy, but I have a D17 1963 model, a 4020 1968 model, and a 2015 Kubota. And I also have a Gator, which I enjoy as well. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my stories about tractors today. I hope you have a good day. The Lord bless you.